Hello all YouTubers, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into this Tropical Storm Sally discussion for September 13th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest forecast and best forecast from the Weather Dude, then please, every single one of you that is not subscribed, please click the subscribe and the ring and the notification bell so you guys stay up to date with the latest The Weather Dude content. And also, please watch the whole video. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for 1,000 subscribers. It really does mean a lot to me. And this is taking the next step towards monetization, so please watch the whole video. It really does help out my channel a lot. And also, please give this video a like and share this with your friends. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. And here we have Tropical Storm Sally for today, expected to make landfall right near Grand Isle and New Orleans as a Category 1 hurricane. Now, originally this was expected to be Category 2, so that is a slightly good thing that's been downgraded to a Category 1, but to be honest, the effects haven't changed. Alright, except for the wind being a tad bit less, the effects are still the same. The storm is just as dangerous here, and we'll be going over the storm today, explaining the impacts, what the most dangerous impact will be, so hopefully you guys enjoy. So, here is Tropical Storm Sally right now, and I gotta say, it has a pretty decent sized wind field over the northeastern Gulf here. As you can see, the X is where the storm is now, and the orange is that tropical storm wind field, and as you can see, it's pretty large. So we have some tropical storm warnings here, basically west of Apalachicola, and then east of Apalachicola, we have tropical storm watches. Tropical storm warnings go all the way to Mobile, Alabama. Also, Mobile, Alabama is under hurricane watch. Then we have hurricane warnings for Lake Pontchartrain, Gulfport, Mississippi, New Orleans, Grand Isle, all places that are under a hurricane warning. And then just west of there, near where Hurricane Laura made landfall, tropical storm warnings are in effect for you guys. And as you can see, the cone, once it makes landfall, though, the cone actually does get pretty large, so there's a wide area the storm could track after it makes landfall. But the big problem with this storm is going to be the rainfall. As you saw in the thumbnail, potentially over 20 inches of rainfall. It could be more than that. All right. Now, am I talking Hurricane Harvey rainfall? As of right now, no. But it could get pretty close in some spots. All right. Talk about like half of Hurricane Harvey's rainfall in some spots. So this storm is going to be very serious because it's going to slow down as it's coming on shore. Look at this. So here's 1 p.m. Monday. It's probably like Monday afternoon, mid to late Monday afternoon. It's just approaching the shoreline. Literally 2 days later, it's still going to be over southern Mississippi. In like 48 hours later, 40 to 50 hours later, it'll still be in southern central Mississippi. All right. Then the next day, it won't be another day before it just now crosses into Alabama, and it'll be getting ready to cross into South Carolina by another day from then, which is Friday. So this storm may not be out of the southeast region until early next week. So you're going to be dealing with this thing for a long time. Depending on where you are. So again, it's forecast to make landfall as a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane. But anyway, 60-mile-an-hour winds right now, mid-level tropical storm. Movement is west-northwest at 9 miles an hour. Now, originally, this was kind of actually forecast to make landfall like this. But since it's taking more southerly track, like I explained to you guys, all right, now it's spending more time over water. It's getting more time to strengthen. That is what it is doing. Now, tropical storm force wind probabilities, we could pretty much almost guarantee it for a place like Grand Isle, maybe even New Orleans as well. Anywhere basically shaded in that red or purple region, you could pretty much almost say that we're probably going to have tropical storm force winds. The chances are over 70%. But look how huge this circle is, right? You had the chance for tropical storm force winds going all the way into Texas. All right, Texas actually does have eastern Texas, like Beaumont, has a 10 to 20% chance to see tropical storm force winds. Now, most likely we probably won't, but we even have a good chance, above a 50% chance for a place like central Louisiana. So this is where Hurricane Laura just got impacted. So maybe at the least, for those of you recovering from Hurricane Laura, you could see some strong winds with this. All right, and then, again, it'll start making its way towards the west. Then you can see it really slows down because look how close the lines get together once it enters Georgia. Tuesday, 8 a.m., Wednesday, 8 a.m., Thursday, 8 a.m. Then once it enters Georgia, it's really going to slow down. So be careful, especially in Georgia as well. Wind history. Okay, we have had reports of tropical storm force winds, the extreme northern Florida Keys, as well as extreme southwestern peninsula of Florida. We have reported some tropical storm force winds. As you can see, look how like the circle has kind of grown here, right? It's kind of got like a wider wind field. The wind field is starting to get a little bit larger. Now, when we look at the storm on the map here, again, your tropical storm force winds are in this turquoise color here, and then you have your winds are 58 miles an hour plus in that right-hand side of the storm system, pretty much due east of it. So what we're expecting is at 2 a.m. Eastern time on the 14th, which is tomorrow, winds are 70 miles an hour, but winds will be gusting to 85 miles an hour, which is well into Category 1. So keep that in mind. Then it becomes an 80 mile an hour hurricane with winds gusting to Category 2 status. All right. But keep in mind that for it to be Category 2, it has to have sustained winds of 100 miles an hour. This will have wind gusts to 100 miles an hour by 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Then making landfall, well, approximately making landfall about, say, maybe 2 a.m. on the 15th with winds of 90 miles an hour. But winds will be gusting to Category 3 status. And notice this. Where they have the storm, the exact track for now, if you really zoom in, they had changed the track a little bit. I thought it was actually supposed to go this way before, so they might have shifted ever so slightly to the east. So who knows? Maybe it'll have time to strengthen in here before it makes landfall. But as you can see, it already made landfall in this region here, so it's already crossed over some land, and it may graze the land. But if it doesn't, if it manages to go right in between here, it may have a little bit better opportunity to strengthen before landfall. But don't want to analyze this too closely, all right? Because sometimes this track can change a lot, and we don't want to be. We want to be as exact and accurate as possible, but like I said, this line could move and we don't even know it. Then it's pretty much due south of New Orleans as nearly a Category 1 hurricane with 70 mile an hour winds gusting to 85 miles an hour by 2 p.m. The storm center will be pretty much near New Orleans. So 2 p.m. on the 15th, New Orleans and Metairie, I think that's how you say it, will probably be getting the eye wall, whatever's left of the storm's eye wall by then. Then it moves into eastern Louisiana, 50 mile an hour winds, and then by the time it crosses in the Mississippi, it should be a tropical depression. Now, Hurricane Laura was moving pretty fast, right? Another example was Isaias as well. Both of those storms were moving pretty fast after landfall, so they carried a lot of wind strength inland, and they didn't produce as much rainfall. Now, they still produce a lot, but not quite as much rainfall. Now, this storm's going to be the complete opposite. It's going to produce a ton of rainfall because it's moving so slowly. So the only benefit that comes out of that is that for inland location, the wind speeds won't be as strong. Because if the storm is moving faster as it made landfall, it would give it less time for the storm to weaken, and we might still even have a tropical storm well inland for Birmingham and Atlanta. But because it's moving slower, it gives it more time to really deorganize, and that's or disorganize, I should say. And that's probably what's going to happen by the time it crosses into South Carolina. But still, very dangerous impacts all across the southeast here from Sally. Again, extremely dangerous and life-threatening surge. You're going to see the surge is very, very high. Hurricane conditions, hurricane force winds, and we're going to be seeing that flash flooding, that river flooding is going to be catastrophic here. Even though we're going to see a lot of flash flooding, there will also be a lot of just regular flooding, like long-time river flooding that could be lasting days, right? Because the storm is moving so slow. Even though it will have some flash flood warnings in there as well. So, looking at our storm surge warnings are in place for Biloxi, for Gulfport, for Seidel, I think that's how you pronounce it, and eastern Louisiana, including Grand Isle, including New Orleans. And then we have our storm surge watches for Mobile, Alabama here. All right, so look at the surge. And maybe this, I'm pretty sure it's just updated. Yeah, it did. At the 5 p.m. update, 7 to 11 feet of surge. Now, typically, actually, this is storm surge that you would typically see pretty much in between a Category 2 or Category 3 surge. But because the storm is moving so slow, the surge goes up, right? So we're talking about Lake Bourne. We're talking about also in between the mouth of the Mississippi River and in between there and Lake Bourne, 7 to 11 feet of surge, even up through Ocean Springs. Then between Ocean Springs and the Mississippi-Alabama border, 4 to 7 feet. And then for Pensacola Bay, Appalachia Bay, it's 1 to 3 feet. But Lake Pontchartrain has flood. I know it floods a lot, 4 to 6 feet. So it's still a lot for a place like Lake Pontchartrain. Now look at this rainfall, 20 inches plus. That is pretty much right on New Orleans, and even well outside of that. Even in this red area, we got the pink, which represents 15 to 20, but even outside of that, widespread, we're talking about 6 to 15 inches of rain plus widespread, and even well inland. We're talking about even in the Tennessee, the southern Tennessee, we're talking about 4 to 6 inches. Then as far north as, say, Kentucky or Virginia, the extreme western part of Virginia, 2 to 4 inches. And then you have the mountainous locations, the Smoky Mountains. That's why your rainfall totals got up to about 4 to 6 inches plus, because the mountainous locations enhance that rainfall. So your flash flood risk is going to be in place for Tennessee and Kentucky, but that greatest threat It's going to be extreme western Florida, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and eastern Louisiana. All right, then an even greater threat in eastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi. So you guys definitely need to be prepared because we don't need any more storms. And got news for you guys. Sally isn't helping things. We got plenty of storms behind Sally. All right, this season is showing no mercy here. Okay, so let's take a look at our sea surface temperature anomalies here, our 5 km coral reef watch. And you can see that, look at the northeastern Gulf and look how much it is above average. Now, good thing is that this was tracking through the western Gulf. You can see we're having some darker colors, so it's farther above average in the western Gulf than it is in the eastern Gulf. So I'm not saying that it's moving through a cooler patch. I mean, the water is still warmer than average, and that's the thing we need to take away here. It actually recently got done moving through some water that was closer to 2 Celsius above average as opposed to 1.5. All right, but good thing it's not moving through like this orangish shade you see here. That's like over 3 degrees Celsius above average. Now, our actual ocean temperatures, when it first left the coast of Florida, you can see that darker area of orange, which that's probably like your near 90s bathwater. I think it's since like right here, so it's got some warmer, definitely some warmer water the whole way through. Not quite as warm as it was when it left Florida, but it's still like well into the mid 80s, probably even more than that. All right, so here's Sally here. Again, 60 mile per hour winds. All right, we got 998 millibars of pressure. This is a pretty decently sized storm, and I think that's what we need to take away from it here. How about that satellite imagery? So satellite doesn't look the best on satellite imagery. You gotta remember, I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite a newborn storm. Well, it pretty much is, but it's a mid-level tropical storm. Now, it does have some circulation. We are seeing some circulation. All right, got some decent west side circulation. We also have a lot of convection that's blowing up near the storm center. All right, so that's a sign of it strengthening. But you gotta remember that convection has to be on the northeast side of that storm to really help it gain some organization. But look at this. Look at all this convection bubbling up right over Alabama, Georgia, and Florida borders here. So we're seeing a lot of convection blowing up. Also, I'm noticing a lot of convection blowing up in southwestern Florida, right where the storm came offshore. So the storm, it's trying to get its act together. I think all it really needs is time, and I think we'll start getting its act together pretty nicely. We have our current storm location, which is pretty much about 85.5 degrees west and 27.5 degrees north. And we also have our model track guidance, which suggests a landfall anywhere from eastern New Orleans to some models even say Mobile, Alabama, but most are sticking with a Grand Isle / New Orleans landfall or maybe a Biloxi or Gulfport landfall, Mississippi. But pretty much all the models agree a track right through Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, maybe even to the portions of the Mid-Atlantic by next week. Now, our GEFS tracks suggest maybe some deeper strengthening, some more oranges, maybe closer to Category 1 hurricane before landfall. But again, I like to take a look at these to see the track, not necessarily the strength. This black line is suggesting a complete loop because what the black line does is it takes what all these models are saying and kind of averages them together. So all these models are saying it's going to go to Mississippi, Alabama, and hook a complete U-turn, which I don't think will happen, but it could. If that high pressure to the north stays in, if it like stays in command for a long period of time, that storm has nowhere to go, but it'll literally just start doing circles on land because it just wants to get some exercise. It has nothing to do, right? If it's just sitting there and it's in holding pattern in traffic, it has nowhere to go. All right, so hopefully we know the high is going to be there for when the storm makes landfall, so that's why it'll be slowing down initially. But if that high pressure can back away as it's making landfall, that'll help it to pick up the speed a little bit. So we might actually take a look at the 500 millibar steering and see what the latest models are saying for that. But most models do make it just barely a Category 1 at some point. A few models make it a strong Cat 1. One model makes it a lower Cat 2. Also, a good chunk of the models say it'll just be a strong tropical storm. Then eventually, all the models, after a few days, do make it a tropical depression, which is always agreeable because the storm will be weakening eventually. So let's take a look at the NAM model here, and you can see, look at this. Look at this low deepening, how it just sits there. And then it kind of hooks a complete right turn. So the NAM model calls for a landfall in Mobile, Alabama. And you can see that eye wall, that top right eye wall is just so fierce looking. All right, that is really actually scary looking. All right, then it comes on shore, then it starts weakening, but still has a quote-unquote eye wall, I guess you can call it still. Now, when we take a look at our cyclonic vorticity signature, all right, as you can see, look at this. Look at this thing deepening with that dark shade of red. And there you go. There's your energy spreading out as it makes landfall. So that's why, because that wind field is going to start getting wider. We'll see a lot more strengthening with this. And sure enough, we're talking about a good pretty close, if not actually maybe right on a hurricane. All right, pretty close to that as it comes on shore. 977 millibars of pressure here. So that is some very, very low pressure. Now, let's take a look at our ship's diagnostics message here real quickly. Shear, good thing is once it does go on shore after a few days, shear will go through the roof, so it'll have no chance to stay the manageable tropical storm status. Once it makes landfall, it's going to start weakening pretty quickly. That's the only good news with this, but still, rainfall will be catastrophic regardless of the wind speed. Sea surface temperatures will be over 30.4 degrees Celsius, which is almost pretty much 90. We got our storm speed here sitting around a few knots. It will be slowing down to a few knots, then maybe speeding up after a few days. Heat content is also high right now, but could potentially be falling lower after it makes landfall, obviously because there's no heat from the ocean anymore. So a lot of heat content with it for now, which is bad news because it gives the storm a chance to develop here. So here we have the GFS model, all right, just show you the 500 millibar steering. So here's Sally there, and here's kind of like your high pressure, kind of sort of blocking to the north here. Now, the question is, does the high pressure back away as it comes north? Because here's your really stronger high pressure, or like that next shade of orange that you see on your screen. All right, now as it moves north, notice how it kind of backs away a little bit. That's good because that means the high is backing away as the storm is moving north because it gives it a chance to escape. But if it hangs around for just too long, all right, that storm will be sitting there in the southeast for a long time. It's already going to be sitting there long enough, so we don't need to be sitting there any longer than it has to. So that's something we're going to be watching out for. So thank you guys for watching today's video. I'm the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.